No.
That is the clap of starting. We have now started, apparently.
Yeah, we're professionals.
We are the best podcasters in this chat room. We are two men in our mid-30s trying to break the mould here. I don't think anyone else has done this. We're starting a podcast. Oh yeah, we're also
hot and fresh content.
Hot and fresh. Yes, because the market isn't saturated enough with just blokes talking a load of shit on the internet for an unspecified amount of time. But this time with a video element.
Yeah.
Right, so first order of business.
Yes.
What is this?
Oh, good question. I did make some notes. Like I'm sure we've both made notes about what the fuck we're doing here.
Yeah, totally.
I think my preference, or if that's let's stick with preference.
Okay.
Because it seems like we're leaning towards that kind of conversational, rambly nonsense kind of podcast. If we just sort of stick with it's two people having a conversation, but everyone else is listening is also sort of there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mixture of just whatever's we want to talk about, and then maybe some segments that are consistent, like we have them week on week, and unless they're shit, and then we get rid of them.
Poor fan reception dictates that we will get rid of them. All of our fans that we're definitely going to garner through this venture.
Our fan.
One fan. Just the one.
One fan.
I don't need to think Danielle's listened to my other podcast, so...
I know, sorry, but I haven't listened to yours.
I know, I understand why. It's the same reason why you haven't watched many of my vlogs, because you find them too cringe.
I've watched a number of them, but yeah,
they're contrived because I wrote them. Because I had to have a script, otherwise I'd have just gone on for hours. And I still do. Yeah. Like, the original cuts of a lot of my vlogs are like 25 minutes long, and I smash them down to like 5-10 minutes.
Are we thinking that there's going to be somewhat of a scripted element, or is it always going to be just like ad hoc?
Sorry. What I would like to do is we do have a structure that would be really helpful, because
yes,
lest it does spiral out and you just end up not only going off on rambles, which is fine, but repeating yourself week on week. I found in my professional experience as a professional person who talks at the microphone a lot.
I'm a kind of a big deal in the whole 30-somethings white man podcast game.
Exactly. We have 4 consistent listeners on our plot chat one. But you do end up sort of rolling around the same sort of themes, because that's the default bit that your brain goes back to. If you don't have something to say, you go, I'll just talk about this again. So I like to try and avoid that where possible by having a bit of a structure, like at least a start, a couple of middle bits and an end, and then we just kind of work around those with our guff plex. And there's going to be a lot of in-jokes. I do realise that off the bat, a lot of people are just going to be immediately alienated by our absolute just ridiculousness. So
yes, the stupid in-jokes that may be lost to time where they even come from.
Well, the thing is, if we say them enough, they will become their own in-universe in-jokes, and then other people will start saying them. I've noticed that with the Vidiots podcast.
Yes.
They've got such a rich lore now. And it's kind of ridiculous how did I even begin to understand what the fuck they're talking about? And that's a lot of how I hope this goes. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. No, that works for me. I think that ties nicely with let's make it like people are listening in on us just fucking talking like we're friends or whatever.
Like we're friends. I don't even know this guy. Yeah. This guy I don't even. We met on Facebook Marketplace, I believe. Yeah. I thought I was buying a lasagna.
Tinder's branched out to people you could do a podcast with.
What would that be called? Like Shouter or something?
I hope that we get to a point where, like, our voices, because we're in different rooms and we're using different mics and all that, and we obviously have very different voices, we don't sound like completely different to the point of it being jarring. Have you ever heard a podcast where one person sounds like just talking to a distance, and the other person's like, and it just really doesn't gel.
Sorry. Yes. You may notice also, I keep going back to the only point of reference I've got is Plop Chat, which is our intermittent podcast with Ross. But I'm always making sure I'm a relatively consistent distance from the mic. In fact, I'm sitting as far back as I can now, so I'm not going like this. But Ross, he kind of wanders off like this, and you're kind of like, come back, Ross, come back. So, as somebody who's... oh, yes!
For local people.
Is it actually...
It is local. It's from Folkestone.
I love it.
This is the Harbour Arm little lighthouse thing. It's got some slogan on it.
It's better than I'm drinking Vimto because I'm a shill. I'm not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Vimto yet. It's just I needed something to wet the whistle, and I wasn't drinking beer again because I had so much last night and I fell asleep.
Vimto is now sponsoring us, but Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh yeah, or we are sponsored by NordVPN. Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow Legend. You can't say it quietly.
Oh, no, sorry. But that is the dream, isn't it? I mean, if you got to the point where big VPN is paying you to put an advert in there, I think, that's a sign that you've made it, maybe? I don't know.
Everyone has to deal with the ads in the middle of the podcast or wherever. But I think my favourite bit of copy from an ad would be the Policy Genius ones that... I'm going to forget his name, and this is going to be a terrible bit. You're going to have to edit this. No, that's my local MP. No, the name will come to me. Is it Hank? No, it's not Hank. John Green.
Blimey, that was laboured.
The Anthropocene Reviewed. He stopped doing it, but I appreciate his copy for Policy Genius, which obviously is not important to us because it's about insurance and American insurance, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he always gets to riff on it, like he makes up a slogan for the company.
But yeah, it's always good if they do that sort of thing.
Maybe just clumsily cut one in.
Yeah, the
power of post.
The power of post. After we stop recording, I think we should think about and then record a sponsored ad read and smack it right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Perry Noble's Horse Corn. Tired of your horse getting all up in your maze? Is your wife looking at it a little too seductively? We have the solution. Horse corn. It's corn, but for your horse. Be the envy of your neighbours as your horse gallops straight through their living room wall, fueled by premium horse corn. Increases the density of your horse 1,000-fold. Time will bend to its very will. Your horse can go to the moon. Also, has all the sodium a growing horse needs. Comes in regular, super regular, and new Blorange edition. Order now and receive a handwritten letter from our founder and saviour, Charles Perry Noble IV. Horsecorn. Your horse will thank you. Horsecorn cannot guarantee a lack of human equine relations, may cause explosive umbrage, violent chagrin, irrational bouts of extreme narcolepsy, lupus, and sporadic colonial racism. Horsecorn assumes no responsibility for the disintegration of livestock. Not suitable for Steve. Full terms and conditions available on request via Telegram. That was recorded on Tuesday. Horsecorn. It's corn. For your horse.
And that was the ad read, everybody. Thank you. We're going to go now. Bye.
Thanks once again from our sponsor. Along those lines, I think there has to be some sort of theme tune construction. Oh boy.
Well, I was actually going to approach you as somebody who knows how to music about that, because I mean, the ones I've created in the past have just been nicking other songs, mashing them together and making them sound horrible. So, which may be the appeal. So, who knows? But
some sort of horrendous sample-based monstrosity with a generic beat under might work.
I think it should just be you saying a horrendous sample-based monstrosity with a generic beat under, with a generic beat under it.
Yeah.
No, Gabba. That's too much.
I still have that sample. I could use it.
Stupid Gabba vocal. Well, there we go.
There's a bit where you hit the boom stand when you're doing some of the recording, and I used that as the actual kick drum because I reversed it, and it sounded quite kick drummy.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, are we keeping that in? Why not? It's
why
real men doing real things and real men belch.
Sam and Alex's manly podcast for manly men doing manly men things.
Biceps and hookers and trucks, yes.
Gambling trucks.
Gambling hooker trucks. Which is more confusing than it sounds, because it's not a truck that has gambling and hookers in it. It's a as a promiscuous vehicle that's addicted to gambling.
Or is it owned by a gambling hooker?
Yes, it's kind of like Christine, but like a gambling hooker version of that instead of a murderous car. It's it just drives up and down the red light districts, going just gambling with its life, really.
Not the owner that's a sex worker. The car is a sex worker.
It's like, are you Christine? No, this is Christine.
Belching out black smoke really turns me on.
Getting run over is one of my kinks.
Yeah, it's like one step from being stood on by someone wearing heels. I get run over by a 3-ton truck. That's what I need in my life right now.
Jesus Christ. I should really have like a desk to put my drink on. I keep like leaning onto the floor because otherwise the next point of reference is windowsill, which is even farther. I'll figure it out. Hey, this is the pre-pilot, okay? We're figuring it out. That's what we're doing, like I get a what do kids say these days? Bomb ass set up with some color changing LEDs in the background and what they usually just put like stuff up on the wall to distract you from the meat that's talking and stuff, all of that.
Because my background is fucking awful. Look at this quality bit of audio treatment. It's just like some of the room, not all behind me.
It's fine. The video element is secondary to the waffling element anyway. So
deal with it.
I think I'm just going to leave it all in. I mean, I've cleared this bit of clutter, but the only thing was like a blanket and a pillow, sponsored by NordVPN. That would have had more clout if NordVPN was written on here. Maybe I can put that in post, like just our advert, whatever it is, horse corn. Buy our new horse corn merch. Hey, that's the next step as well. When we become famous YouTube podcast people, we can start selling merchandise. And legitimately, I can make merchandise and we can sell it. So each one will be personally signed by a random member of the public.
In these uncertain times, we go out into the public world and we ask people to sign a shirt that they have no idea why they're being asked to do.
Well, certain messages have to be put in place during these times because there's the whole 2 meter distance thing, isn't there? So you kind of have to chuck the merch at them and then they have to sign it and then chuck it back and make sure you sanitize.
Or we can construct some sort of 2 meter long pen.
Yes, because
you sort of have to.
Could be actually. Oh no, I've not got it in here because I tied it up. But we had this long bamboo stick. That would have been perfect. Just sellotape Sharpie to the end of it and just scribble.
Just nail a Sharpie on the end.
This could work. Because the reason why random members of the public, I hear you asking, so no one can dox us or fraud our signature or anything like that. So
because all those people will be like, well, that's sweet podcast money. I need to get my hands on that.
Yeah, sorry. I have also tidied away my massive piles of cash prior to this because I didn't want to throw shade on those lesser successful podcast people, but my fairy lights are fucking falling down around me. Metaphor.
They're telling you something.
Cryptic metaphor. That's a thing, isn't it? That if we were to talk about nostalgia in any capacity, that is something that's now dead because Flash is dead.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to see in the same quality anymore the Cloak.
Rip in peace the Cloak as well. And Metal Gear Awesome. I actually downloaded a YouTube video version of Metal Gear Awesome about 12 years ago because I wanted it. So I have it forever.
Was it like an 180p or something?
It's pretty terrible. After seeing it on Newgrounds in Flash, which is infinite quality, and then just
everyone loves a vector.
I fucking love vectors. Don't get me started on vectors. So it's just as well because I was actually going to pursue Flash animation at some point. It's just I didn't really, wasn't it? I mean, the skills could have been transferred to a different medium, I'm sure, but
yeah,
they would have been terrible Flash animations, like basic blocky, kind of when the keyframe goes wrong and everything sort of goes through itself type thing. It'd be great.
I think I've briefly attempted something in Flash when this ain't my medium.
You just know, don't you? Like you give something a whirl, you're like, this doesn't feel comfortable. It's kind of like wearing high heels or something. You either love it and could walk around in them, great, or you're like me and you fall over and scrape your knees. So
we both had the opportunity to wear high heels.
Oh yeah, for sure. My fiance has the same foot size as me for a start, so they're uncomfortable. I wouldn't recommend them. Sorry.
She's like, put the shoes on. No, I don't want to.
Put the shoes on.
The bum bag stays on during sex.
Yes. I know we can't say that.
No context reference.
Not allowed the context. The bum bag stays on during sex. No, I've just run out of steam. Please, somebody restart me. Steam has encountered an error and must close. Is it Gabe Newell who started Steam, or is he just Valve? I can't remember.
He's most likely had a fair old hand in the construction of Steam as a platform.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, he's got more money than God now because of it.
And he still can't count to 3 though. So let's not go down that rabbit hole of talking about Steam and how Half-Life 3 will never happen. And
it's not Sam and Alex's Let's Lament the fact that Half-Life 3 is never going to happen.
Sam and Alex's cry box. Where we watch sad videos and weep. Tachkoma!
What if robots had feelings?
I literally don't care about human suffering, but as soon as I see a robot sacrifice himself in an animated program, I am crying like a leaking sponge. I had an idea before we had this idea of doing a podcast, with you, but talking about really obscure shit. We talk about music that no cunt has ever heard of because we listen to obscure shit, or like guilty pleasures, which are always fun to talk about music-wise.
I had some music-related segments I had a thought about we could potentially do as like maybe regulars. One of them is, what's that song 1 second edition?
Oh God.
You can't get a content match on 1 second of music.
That would be interesting because a lot of strapping young lad is just
it's the Hugh Suffer of song games.
Yeah.
This is probably a bit more relevant to me because this happens and it's particularly cruel. But why have I got that song in my head? It's like a segment about this song, whatever song, insert song name here, is in my mind for these reasons.
Okay.
Like I saw some object, and then all of a sudden that was associated with this, and then this song was in my head. What a wonderful story!
Oh no, I watched a film recently. What was it? Romeo Must Die, which is a Jet Li film. I thought when we were like, my brother and I, we were like 15, 16, we were like, yeah, it's brilliant, look at the martial arts in it. Nice. There's a segment during the climactic fight where he kicks someone in the top of the head, then it goes into X-ray vision and it shows his spine breaking or something. I was like, oh, look at the 3D effects in that. I watched it about 3 years ago and I was like, this is very long, not a lot happens in between the fighting, and what the fuck are these special effects about?
It's bollocks, mate.
Nah, it's bollocks.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. When you're younger, you go, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that film. You watch it again and go, what the fuck was I on?
Exactly, I think, because...
Easily amused.
Well, it's not just that, it's time and experience, isn't it? Like, you watch much better things in the interim, and you realise how rich cinema can be, and then you go back to those films you watched when you were younger, when your scope was so narrow, and you just go, wow, that's just a load of shit, isn't it? And nostalgia can only carry it so far, you know. Like, a lot of people, they can't accept the fact that their childhood favourite films aren't actually that good. They just remember them fondly because they were young. It was the time. It wasn't the film, it was the time that they're remembering.
It's probably a good portion of like that sort of rose tinting of the past. It's about the good feelings and the things associated with that.
Yeah.
You think, oh yeah, I had a great time when I was a kid. You might not have. It's just you were a kid. It seems like you did. Exactly.
I mean, I often think that with soft plugging of the book that I'm writing and have been writing for the past 10 years, I decided to start writing. People will know this from my previous thingies that I've done, because I talk about it all the time. But I started writing a memoir in 2010, just as a laugh, just to see if I could remember stuff between a certain time in my life, 16 to 19 years old, just to give it a frame. of reference, and then it just got bigger and bigger and more involved, and then I started asking my friends about what happened in those stories, that they were there, and then I added that detail to, and it's a big one. It might have to be 2 books at this point.
Are you going to get it signed by George Galloway?
No, I'm just going to get some random wanker off the street to sign it.
with a Sharpie nailed to a stick.
With a big old Sharpie stick, yeah.
But I'm standing right next to you. Use the stick.
Use the stick.
You've gone dark.
Oh, no. So, what were we talking about?
Scene deleted?
Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about either.
Getting your memoirs signed by a random person in the streets.
Yes, of course. But the point was why I started talking about that was because about rose tinting the past, and it really needs an objective view on it, because I've told the stories to my friends whom were there, and they think it's hilarious because they were there and they remember. But what I need to do is employ maybe the same random wanker from the public that I get to sign the book. I need to read them an excerpt and see how they react to it. You know, Johnny Nobody off the street, you know?
Forward by some randomer you found down the bus stop.
Yeah. So what is this bullshit? Why would anyone read 200,000 words of this bullshit?
I was given £100 to write these words. I don't have a fucking clue what he's going on about. I don't even know this man. He just approached me and shoved a pen on a stick in my hand, and then he gave me some more money, and I was like, what even is this?
£100? That's more than my printing budget for the fucking 10 volumes that I'm going to create.
What, you going to the Gideon Bible printing press?
I'm vanity publishing this shit. It's not going to have an ISBN or anything. I guess I could just make one up, but then I might get in trouble.
Yeah, the ISBN police are going to turn up at your door and give you a good telling off.
You don't know about the ISBN cartel. They are furious and relentless, but also very clandestine, which is why you've never heard of them.
No one suspects the ISBN
Mafia?
Police.
Mafia? I guess they're not really police. They don't have that kind of authority. They're just...
No one ever suspects the Swedish house mafia. Did I say mafia right, or did I say mafia? Am I Spanish all of a sudden?
Mafia. At least you didn't say mafia.
Mafia.
Yes, exactly. Because. I know of some people that say because. There's because. That's not how that word is ever pronounced.
Those big causes you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe they were on about big causes. You know, like...
poverty and world hunger.
Oh, no, we're going into a sad hole again. I think if we start doing that, this should be a thing. If we start veering into sort of sad, we need to sort of just do a really weird sort of jarring cut of something really happy and optimistic with really fluffy, fruity music for a few seconds, and then cuts back to what we're talking about. Expect maybe that in the future, if I can be bothered to edit that into the footage. So
I want to spend more than 20 minutes editing this podcast. No one's going to really particularly listen to you for much longer than, say, an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd say edited down. If we got enough content for an hour?
Up to an hour. Like, it won't be any shorter than 40 minutes, let's say that. Because there's a lot of crap that we're talking about, what we're talking about, what we're going to talk about. So that's like meta, which is not necessary. We just need to know about the meta and not the meta. You see, you don't want a big cake because you won't be able to eat it all in the same time, and then you might get sick. Why am I talking about cake?
If before you put the woman in the cake, she eats cake, you've got cake inside a woman inside a cake.
Does that also make the woman edible, or do you just have to wait for her to vomit the cake back up? I don't really understand how the woman eating the cake...
I'm not entirely sure.
But what if...
at some point, Steven Seagal's going to blow up your kitchen using a microwave.
Fucking hell, I'm going to have to sort my fucking levels out. Look at me! Why am I so bright all of a sudden? Fuck me.
Go away, you big shiny bastard.
ISO speed, turn that fucking down.
Where's my spy camera? Oh, I've put it back. I'll just mumble instead.
Where's my spy camera?
No, I can't remember word for word. Unlike some...
Simon knows every word to every Simpsons episode, seasons 2 to 10. I think that's his window of how the golden age, isn't it? Well, I don't know why he doesn't like season 1. That's still pretty good as well. So, but I guess it didn't really gain traction. Yeah. And the animation was really wonky in the first series. See, this is what keeps people watching as well. Random pop culture references from the 90s, because that's
hot and fresh.
That's the demographic of people that listen to podcasts, especially if they're also broadcast on YouTube. So, actually, YouTube is full of 30-somethings now, because they started when they were teenagers and now they're in their early 30s. So, we're appealing to the right demographic for once. Time was all we needed.
Time makes fools of us all.
Time make fool all.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Impossible. Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? Who the fuck said that? It was probably George Bush. Probably. Yeah. I always look back at George Bush. You always forget all the war crime stuff, and he's just kind of like a lovable buffoon compared to Donald Trump. So, like...
Yeah, you potentially need to consider how you're rose tinting the past when you're being like, he wasn't so awful.
Hitler was all right, wasn't he?
Lovable scamper.
Hitler, that lovable scamp. He just wanted to eat his vegetables and paint.
He loved his dog, and he got married, and artist. He's an artist.
Yeah, exactly. If you say all the good things about a bad person and not the bad things, of course it makes him sound like a good person. You know, but then conversely, if you say bad things about good people, that's just how the media works, isn't it? You know, like, I once took a shit in public. I mean, that could be bad, couldn't it? Like, but that was like one time, and I was, you know, it was either
a band camp.
It was either that or shit myself, which is way worse, really. So what are you going to do? I mean, like, if that's your headline, then I'm the man that took a shit in public. I'm not the man that did all these all right things that weren't exclusively not shitting in public.
It's statute of limitations there on shitting in public.
I know exactly where it is, because whenever we drive past that exact point, it was in Nottingham.
Is it still there?
Yes, the shit is still there. It's still there for some reason. I'm going to tell you the story now, and I've already started it, so I might as well continue it. This was before I started living in Nottingham, so I was just visiting and got very drunk, as one would normally do, and we ended up at the Turf, which is an absolutely terrible pub, which doesn't exist anymore. I have mixed feelings about that, mainly because it's a shithole, but it was open till 4:30 in the morning, so, you know, whatever. Met some lass there. Through sober eyes, she was not attractive, but through drunken eyes, she was my lady.
She's a solid 5 out of 7.
Yeah, and there was some sort of uncertainty as to whether I was going to ditch my friend to go back to hers. And then she went off about 20 minutes before we left, and then my mate was like, go on, go to her. And I was like, are you sure, mate? And he was like, yeah, don't worry about it, I'll just walk home. And he was absolutely wankered as well. I don't know how he even made it home. And then, so I sort of texted her, I was like, where do you live? And she gave me the street that she lived on, but not the house that she lived at. And then I was so close.
So turn up in my street and start howling like some sort of animal.
But I got up like about 100 meters away from the general location, and I was like, oh dear, that Burger King didn't agree with me at all. And I just push on, I'm sure you're fine. But by the time I found out where's her actual house, I was about to knock on the door, and I was like, I can't do it. And it's not because I had a sudden attack of conscience, it's because it felt like I was actually going to shit myself. And I was like, this cannot be her first impression of me. So
excuse me while I shit myself on your doorstep.
She was like drifting off to sleep anyway. She was texting me, and I was like, Joe, I'll just leave it. See you tomorrow or something. And then I hobbled down the hill. I was like, it was proper like touch and go. I thought, oh shit, quite literally. So, and I was just panicked, just looking around like, okay, right, I need to find somewhere to relieve myself, otherwise it's going to go bad. I found this. I initially thought it was a bus stop, but upon later visits, it was one of those sort of brick enclosures for what I think is a generator or something like that, like an electricity thing. Anyway, so as it's known, Roman chaired it, where you lean against the wall and sort of assume a squatting position, pulled down my kecks and unleashed a unholy tirade of foulness out of my arsehole. But the relief, it didn't matter. The context didn't matter, because the relief was like, oh God, that was amazing. Now, of course, my secondary concern, my primary concern after that, should I say, was, do I have any tissues? Luckily I did, because I went to Burger King and for some reason I just grabbed a handful of paper towels and just stuffed them in my pocket. So I had...
It's almost as if something in you knew
that I was going to need it at some point. And then after all was said and done, I pulled up my kecks, took one glance at this disgusting steaming pie. I was just like, that came out of me, certainly. And then looked around, and then I saw in the far corner underneath this awning a homeless guy. Like, I don't know if he is asleep or what, but he saw something. I think he might have been haunted by what he saw. So, and that's.
It's like, well, neighbourhood's going downhill. We've got people.
I don't feel so bad about my situation anymore.
That guy's just shat his life out.
So there we go. Do you have a...
Have I ever shit in public?
No, have you ever...
No.
Do you have an equally disgusting tale, so I don't feel quite as put on the spot?
There's the... I don't know if I'm ready to talk about the throwing up on a train thing.
Oh. No, is there something that I haven't been present for?
Okay.
Please hold.
Your call is very important to us. You can find out more on our website. Go to www.ishat. Let me start that again.
What was that? Sorry.
I didn't even say it. There we go. You go.
Oh God, sorry, I'm ruining it now.
Right, and now I've got several shades of crimson. God's sake, I haven't even said it. You can find out more on our website at It's not even that funny. Corn. You can find out more on our website. I just can't fucking say it. Oh God, I haven't laughed like this since Cosmic Tony's chunky bed and bath emotional support shampoo.
I love getting the giggles. I mean, that's what we could talk about whilst you can compose yourself, perhaps, is just randomly getting attacks of the giggles. Like when I watched Point Break, brilliant early 90s film, with an even more brilliant chase sequence in it. But about 2/3 of the way through said sequence, the guy Keanu Reeves is chasing stops, picks up a dog, and throws the dog at him. And it was just like... And he was just like... What the fuck? Somebody sat down and wrote this into the script.
Yeah. I follow a page called Bots of New York, which is a rip-off of Humans of New York, and it's procedurally generated words and images of people. Sometimes it really misses the mark and it turns someone's smile into a face inside of someone else's face. It's all very weird. But they've actually got merch for this. It's so good. But one of the things it created was something called Cosmic Tony's Chunky Bed and Bath. Complete bullshit. Which is an emotional support shampoo in aggressive formulation. Yeah. If you go to the Boney's the acronym for Bots of New York. Boney has a merch site and they have a picture of the emotional support shampoo. It's so good. So, right, let's try this again.
Okay.
the set piece, the big set piece. You can find. No, I can't do it.
You're actually getting less far, shorter into it before you just get creasing up.
You can find out more on our website.
So the website would be taken down at this point. Like, it's taken so long to say. Sorry, 404.
Don't. It's not even that funny.
I might keep all this in.
No. www.itookashitwhileahomelessmanwatched.com. I couldn't even say the full thing.
Well, now I have to buy that domain name. God.
Are you allowed expletives in? No, yes, you are. Of course you are.
No, because it could be like Itocus hit. Like Itocus hit while a homeless man watched. So a person could be called Itocus, and they were hit while a homeless man watched. So that's how you could do it.
This is as contrived as Ebenezer Good being a person.
Yep, or a Susan Boyle an album party. Susan Boyle anal bum party. The marketing team did not think about that. Fucking hell. Well, I think that is the absolute peak of shows. Two Gren men laughing over shitting. So I think...
Because the line was actually meant to be, I took a shit outside while a homeless man watched, but I couldn't say it all.
If you take a shit in the street and nobody watches, did you really take a shit in the street? Like,
if it's not immortalized, but is like trapped in amber or something, did you really take a shit in the street?
It was burned into the back of that poor man's retinas forever.
He's seen some things, and that possibly tops it.
Probably. Yeah, and that's saying a lot. Homeless people see some awful stuff, and that was the absolute, zenith of his disturbing imagery he's seen. So, you're welcome.
Imagine a man casually leaning against the wall as his world falls out his arse.
There was nothing casual about it, Alex. It was an act of sheer desperation.
At least you had like some sort of tissue on you, rather than just like, well, I'm gonna have to use my pants and go home commando.
Yeah, it would have come to that. I think if I was staying in like a hotel or something, it wouldn't have been quite as bad. But the fact that I was staying around my friend's house, who lived with his mum, I don't think it would have lived that down. I think that would have been too much.
Just turn up. Where have you been? Shitting myself in public.
just doing a shit.
You thought to yourself as your eyes locked with that homeless man, one day I'm going to be talking about this on a podcast.
Exactly. Don't at me. Because I don't really look at my Twitter. So you'd just be pointless. Really, just totally pointless. And Alex doesn't even have a Twitter as far as I'm aware, so he's completely unplugged from that particular tumour of the internet. So
it's not a tumour.
It's not a tumour. Twitter, I have a complex relationship with Twitter because I don't really use it. I don't update it that often. I sometimes scroll through it and stuff. But despite not following anyone to do with sports or wrestling or Call of Duty, that's all it seems to fucking recommend me. Say, do you want to follow WWE person? Like, no. See less often. Oh, okay, we'll wait a month and we'll show you the exact same thing again. No.
Oh, by see less often, you mean we'll show you it later.
Exactly. We'll finish it later. Facebook is more aggressive with its marketing, but Twitter's more stupid with its marketing, so it's not as targeted as you'd hope.
Yeah, Facebook for me it's real sort of all over the place. It'd be like, hey, do you want to go to a kebab shop in Glasgow? Or here is MDF to your door. Okay.
Never the twain shall meet you till somebody delivers MDF that's been hollowed out, filled with kebab meat.
It's been deep fried for some reason.
Served in a naan. Or is it pitta? Pitta.
I've got some Peshwari naans I picked up from a local shop, not a faraway shop, because...
All right, no one's going to track you down and arrest you. I went by myself. I was wearing a mask.
I'm being responsible.
Responsible human adult. Well, you live in a town that all the shops are quite close anyway, so... I live in the outskirts of a city, which also has 2 very big supermarkets down the road from me, so...
We can confirm it was not built on rock and roll.
It was not. No, it was built on the blood, sweat and tears of underpaid workers, so...
Thanks, capitalism.
You can't actually build a city on a musical concept. It's not... No, you can't do it. It's...
Rock and all.
Well,
roll.
Actually, you can build a city on rock, because that is a real thing. But roll is... No, you can't... If you ever try to park a car on top of some sausage rolls, doesn't work, does it? You can't build anything on that. It just... Rolls don't work. And also, if you're building on something that rolls, it's not static, so good luck trying to build something on something that's moving all the time. Idiots.
And at least three people will start complaining and or arguing that it's either a cob or a barm.
Or a bap.
Or some other nonsense. Bap, yeah.
Or
fist fight may ensue as you're rolling over these sausage rolls with a car.
Because you can't decide whether they're called something as...
It's called a sausage cob.
It's like a gap between 2 houses is an alleyway. You can't tell me it's anything else, but apparently it's a jitty or a chinnel or a jusset or a gusset or a mumble or a fumble or a doozwazzer. It's like, shut up, it's an alleyway. That's what it is. It's a fucking gap.
I've got a door rasping. Hello? Bear with me.
This is the thrilling quality content that everyone's going to tune in for. I'm going to have to edit this absolute rambling nonsense cast, which we still haven't agreed upon a structure yet. Here he is.
B wanted a screwdriver.
Okay. What, like the drink?
Yeah, because this room is also, for some reason, a cocktail bar.
So, interestingly enough,
yes.
I was talking to myself while you were gone. We haven't actually decided on the name yet, so it's got to be catchy, but it's also got to be unique. Like you said, there's stop podcasting yourself, so no one else can do that anymore because that's a riff on stop hitting yourself, obviously.
Yeah,
and they've already done that,
and they've been doing that, and they've been podcasting for like 12 years or something,
man,
and they've done it live as well.
Oh man, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, we're going to cut this up and make it make sense, but if we could get to the point where we can actually do something for an hour without tripping over ourselves, backtracking, bursting into laughter at the detriment of a bit as well.
Yeah. We have a set bit, you got to practice it so that you can't just like, I've fallen over myself, I've got the giggles now.
Exactly. So what we have learned, in summary, while we're trying to think about a name, is it's going to be conversational. That much is obvious. We're going to have to we bring along a musical thing, or a thing like that, just like a musical bit or a film bit. We could probably talk about films we've seen, but not necessarily in a boring way that reviewers do. We will just... we just go off on tangents about the film. I'd really like to talk about The Lighthouse at one point. We won't talk about it this week, but
I think I made a reference to The Lighthouse on on someone's Facebook post or something. I can't remember. I don't know why. I can't remember why.
So yeah, there's that. There's clearly a Sam talks about something embarrassing that's happened in his life bit. You don't have to bring along a story about it being embarrassing, but perhaps you could sort of counterbalance it with a bit more grounded and sensible tale, which is still amusing in its own right. That's something we need to work through, I guess. I don't know how we could do like a news segment. There's always strange stories out there that are fun to report on, I suppose, isn't there? Like local news. Like, there's always some stupid shit happening in Ashford, and local news for local people. Like, I
did say about the horrors we've seen on buy-sell groups.
Yes,
because normally it's not a great idea when your medium is voice that you're trying to describe something that's got visual humour, but I guess that's where it's sort of...
The video element will help, but not everyone will listen to it while watching it at the same time, so we do need to be able to describe it as well. That's something that we would need to figure out how to do in a humorous manner. We could do the sponsored advert, which isn't actually a real advert, which will be
sponsored nonsense,
pre-recorded and pre-scripted, and then we'd just chuck it in, just sluice it, sluice it in there.
And then someone speaks at nearly the speed of light to put in all of the T's and C's in the... Oh, yeah, sorry. I got rumblies in my tummy that are not great.
Oh, no, you're not going to shit yourself, are you?
So on a scatological bent, yes, let's talk about my need to poo. Basically, I was given a jar of habanero chilies. I was like, oh yeah, I'll find a way of using these because it's like a big jar. And I'm like, oh, I'll just cut one up, just put it on my pizza, which is like, yeah, it's tasty, but it's pretty warm. And today I'm like, oh, I'm gonna shit myself because of them. I was having a shower and I got to the point where I was like, washing my body and like, okay, this is starting to get really desperate now. I'm like, must not shit myself in the shower.
So could we make the podcast title something that is double entendre in sort of scatological but not explicit way? I've already got a podcast called Plop Chat though, and that's kind of the same thing. So.
Yeah, it's a variation on a theme there, really.
It is, isn't it? We're going to something entirely original. No, got it. I've got it. Always an adventure or something like that. Because we always say that, but maybe we could turn that into a podcast pun somehow. A bit of backstory. When we both lived in Kent, obviously he still does, I do not. We used to go out on jaunts, just drive in anywhere, and just it didn't matter what we did. We just always said that everywhere we go, it always has to be like some kind of adventure. It doesn't have to be like a epic thing, but we always made there's always a story to come out of our travels, isn't there? Like, no matter how insignificant or stupid, like the time I was massively hungover and we went to get that bass amp from... I
can't remember. Wasn't that the time that we also went to an electro swing night in Portsmouth?
I don't think that was that was a different time. That was around the same time. That was late 2012, early 2013 perhaps, because I had my...
Both of them involved a heavy night, and then the next day travelling whilst feeling a bit awful.
Oh yeah, I thought I was going to pass out and throw up and pass out in your car at the same time. Like, just it was horrid. But then we got there, we had a slice of pizza each, fell asleep for an hour, went to an electro swing night, had real good fun, and then we just went back to the hotel and slept.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the next day we walked around Portsmouth for a bit. It was a bit windy and rainy, but it was kind of nice. Yeah. So yeah, I think our podcast doesn't necessarily have to be called, but revolve around always an adventure.
Yeah, we'll always have an option to reminisce about some adventure we've had at some point.
Exactly.
Like we've already done. So yeah, it's on theme, it's on topic. When was the last time you had a topic bar?
I can barely remember what the packaging looks like, actually.
I can't recall even what it tastes like, apart from chocolate. It tastes like chocolate.
Is it basically got roughage inside it, like granola and stuff, like inside a chocolate?
Some sort of bulk aggregate.
Exactly. Delicious bulk aggregate bar. Love it.
I didn't really think about that this was also going to be a video.
Yeah. Can you hear that in the background? Hold on. Can you hear the sound of the shower going?
Let me turn myself up. I can hear like a bit of hiss, but you always hear hiss with.
Right. I think we've been going for almost an hour and a half, 20 minutes now. It's a good time we could cut about 48 to 50 minutes of good stuff out of what we've done, I reckon. Which is more than enough for an episode that's not even a real episode. It's just a meta.
This is the bonus content for our Patreons, loyal Patreon supporters.
Yeah, subscribe $3 or more on the Patreon page to receive quality content. A 10-hour mix of Alex laughing whilst trying to deliver a bit.
Not even that good a bit.
The laugh was better than the bit.
Yeah, I guess. There's a certain amount of we guarantee to all our Patreons that we're going to fucking waste that money on some nonsense.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we could have a prototype blimp or something, or like
literal lead balloons.
Actual lead balloons on our big cartel store now.
Well, clearly I've been listening to There's No Such Thing as a Fish a bit too much, because one of the factoids they talk about is that people decided it was a good idea to literally make lead balloons. So you like hammer out the lead into this very fine balloon shape and fill it full of helium, and then they float along.
Does that work?
Yeah, it's just buoyancy. As long as the air that you displace is heavier than the weight of the object that displaces it, things will float. It's like boats on water.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
They displace water that weighs more than they do.
Yeah.
So that's why they float. Same thing in air.
That's the thing we can do as well. Before we wrap up, like you're a font of knowledge when it comes to sort of science facts and things like this. I think we should actually make that a bit in the show where you Mills' science corner or something, like fact corner. I don't really know what to call it. And you could it offers you the opportunity just to sort of impart some knowledge, and therefore this will become an educational podcast in part. It won't just be stupid, which is the main goal. Like it will be. No, my camera turned off again. Right. I think this is a good time to wrap up, because I'm just going to stop the video feed on mine now. Right, it's just my voice. I'll just put a GIF of, I don't know, something stupid over the top of it.
Okay.
Thank you for somehow reaching the end of this. Anyone
shambling towards a conclusion.
We did it. It was kind of like that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where he takes all of those Quaaludes and tries to get into his car whilst paralysed. Yeah. It feels like that's what we've been doing for the past hour and a bit. But we did it, and I feel that we've definitely got something here. We just need to just keep doing it, and we will get better at it. And hopefully people will like it. But that is secondary to the fact that this was a lot of fun. I've got to say, Alex, it was a lot of fun.
Yes. It's always good to have a chat about stuff.
And a good excuse to have a chat about stuff as well. It's important, especially during these unprecedented COVID times when you can't see anyone in real life.
Or in this case, you literally can't see them anyway because their camera.
Yes. I hope you're entertained by whatever placeholder image I've now put in my video box bit, because I can't be bothered to get up and walk over and sort it out. Thank you for sticking with us through what was no doubt a roller coaster of what the absolute fuck. And I hope that it has somehow lifted your spirits, or at least distracted you from the terrors of everyday life. Do you have any closing comments, Alex?
Tell my wife hello. It's not even that funny.